Hi students, Sister Hokinson here. Just want to give you a look at MLA, works cited and documentation. This is definitely the most difficult concept for people to understand if they haven't done it before. I know it can be really confusing to click on the Purdue Writing Lab and figure out what to do because there are about 20 or 30 people there. So I'm going to give you some tips that make this hopefully a little bit easier. So I want to start with my meme. One does not simply not cite their sources. And that is true. It is imperative that everybody cite their sources as they arise in the paper. Any outside information needs to be given credit. So going on to the Purdue OWL that we have a link for in our class is great. It has everything that you need to know, but it can be really overwhelming. So one tip that I have is to actually we're going to go to Firefox here, and I teach at Utah Valley University as well, and they have an online writing center, and it has handouts for MLA and APA that are much more brief than the ones on the Purdue website. So you just click on the UVU Writing Center, go down to Citation Style Guides, and then click on MLA. So we're going to start with MLA in text. So if you're not familiar with how to format a page, this is how you do so. You make sure you include 1-inch margins all around, that you use a standard 12-point font, which is usually Arial or Times New Roman. And at the top of page 1, you'll want to include your name, my name, the class, and the date, all written out like that, no punctuation. Then you'll want to have a header. This will go on all pages. So it will be your last name, no punctuation, and the page number. Everything will be double spaced throughout the entire paper with no additional spaces between paragraphs. So you want your title here, and then you go right into the document. Now, a couple of important things to point out is that anything listed within the text needs to also appear on your works cited page. So right here when I'm seeing this Strauch 64, I need to be able to see Strauch on your bibliography as well, or your works cited page. Okay, and same as vice versa. Anything on your works cited page should be listed in text. One important point is that any quotation that is 4 lines or more, as a rule, should go in a block quote, so it should all be indented like this with no quotation marks. Right here, the 16 and the 64 refer to page numbers. So if you have page numbers, include those in the parentheses. Oftentimes these days we don't have page numbers because so much is found on the internet. And if you don't, just leave it out. So for instance, right here it says, one study of the poem suggests that he made many revisions and so forth by its own rhythm. And then it has this Strauch here. So you just put your citation here, and it would be the name, no punctuation, and the page number in parentheses, and then the punctuation. Again, if there is no page number, just leave it out. If you've already stated who the author is, just put the page number. And again, if there isn't one, just leave it off. If you're quoting something that another source provided the information for, so in other words, to cite information that your source has borrowed from another source, put quoted in and then put the source that you got it right there. Okay, so here is a sample essay, and this is how it should look. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my Word document here that I created. This is how your works cited page should look. Okay, it's separate. Always your works cited page is separate from the rest of the text. And everything should be alphabetized. So you can see this is the case with these two entries. They're alphabetized. Now, if there's not an author, if you can't find an author, for instance, as I said before, leave it out. You just start right with the title. And that, if this started with O, we would bring it down here, Old Roads, and it would go after this entry that starts with a D. So if you'll notice the formatting here, each entry is right at the 1-inch margin line, and any subsequent lines beyond one line will get this thing that's called a hanging indent, and I'll show you how this works. So let's say I've got this entry all put together. This is what I've got. This is my entry right here, and I need to make it a hanging indent. So what you usually have to do is come over here to the end of the line and actually manually enter that, and then tab over. Same with here, manual enter, and then tab over, and that will give you your nice hanging indent. Okay, and then anything with just one line will come out to the 1-inch margin. Now, I did mention that everything in the bibliography should be mentioned in the body of the paper and vice versa. Now, here are a couple of tips that you need to know for in-text citations. So this is information that you're bringing into the text. Let's come down here. So, place the author's last name and the page number in parentheses immediately after the material being cited. So this is a citation about the California Community College system. This is information that I got from an outside source, obviously, because this isn't just general knowledge. Anything beyond general knowledge has to be cited. So I just put the information here. The California system turned away 600,000 students in the 1990s. Well, I need to cite where that information came from. And so I don't even have to say that Carney wrote it if I just put it in parentheses like this, Carney, with the page number. And then if there's no page number, just leave it out like that. Punctuation goes with on the outside of that citation. But another way that I like to do it is instead of having this Carney in parentheses, is to just give it an attributive tag. And what that means is that you are attributing that, you're tagging it, the information that you got, to an author. So you just say the California Community College system according to Carney. Then you don't have to put Carney here in parentheses because you've already attributed this quote to Carney. And then if there's no page number, leave it out, and it will just look like this. And then in that case, the punctuation goes within the quotations. Now, one really important factor to consider is that when you are using a direct quote, that means word from word, that it's word for word taken from another author. The rule is that 3 words or more taken word for word from another author need to be put in quotation marks. Okay, so this indicates that we've taken this word for word from the author Carney. Now this one, with it not being in quotation marks, indicates that we've paraphrased and that this has been said in our own words, but that we got the information from Carney. So if an attributive tag already identifies the author, give only the page reference in parentheses, or if there isn't one, leave it out. So this is all you would need. According to Liz Jones, the fashion industry, blah, 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 images of women. And all I need is this tag, and then I'll be able to go down to your works cited page and find more information. So keep in mind that in MLA, there's not a numbering system. You don't need to say Liz Jones 1, and I have to go look for the number 1 at the bottom. or there's no footnotes, nothing like that. There are no footnotes or anything like that in MLA. And then here's one last thing to think about. If you're paraphrasing, so for instance, in your part 2 of the argumentation essay, you're going to be bringing in a lot of information from another source. You don't need to continually say Carney over and over and over again. As long as it's clear that that author is being used, you just have to use it periodically. You have to mention that that author is where you got that information. So just every once in a while you need to list according to Carney, blah, blah, blah. And then periodically just make sure that it's clear that Carney is the one where you got the information and that Carney is the source and it's not necessarily just you talking. Then you just need to mention Carney every so often. Okay, then just keep in mind that the citation precedes the period and like that. And if you bring in the source after, then you change the punctuation to go after the citation. Oh, I have one really, really awesome tip that you will probably thank me forever for. And that is, I'm going to minimize this. Let's say we're going into the library and finding a source that we're going to use. So I'm thinking of a source that I'm using in a different class. And this is called I, Immigrant. And I know the author's name is Vargas. So let's see if I can pull it up here. Yep, here it is. Okay, here is this source that I like. Click on it. And here it comes up in the BYU library. Now here's this trick that you're going to love. If you come over here to this side, click on Cite, everything will be done for you. And you click down here to MLA, Works Cited, and you can just copy that, take it to your document. Let's see where our document was. And we're going to paste it. Here. Look at that. Now you have to check it to make sure that it actually goes with the correct information on the works cited page according to MLA. So I'll get to that in just a minute. But now we just want to take this and change it into our Arial. Okay, and then we're going to manually come in here, give it the hanging indent. And there we go. And that's exactly how it should look. Obviously, we'll bring the chain, move this to here. Change that, and we're set to go. Now, that's exactly how your works cited page should look. Let's now go back to our handouts, and we want to look at our MLA works cited page. That gives us all the information that we have to use when we provide our citation right here. Okay, you'll see how we have the author's last name, the title, and so forth. You go back to this works cited page handout, and it tells you exactly what information that you should put in and where. So in a works cited page, if you're including a source, you should first bring in the author, then the title of the source, then the title of the container. And the container is the larger work where you find that source. Then if there's other information, you include like that, like other contributors, version, number, publisher, And then always you'll want a date and a location. The location will often mean, for instance, the database or the the website that you got it from, or the library that you got it from. Okay, those are the basics that go into every single citation that you're looking for. You want to refer to this works cited page because these will be repeated over and over again. So you'll just find your author, give the title, make sure it follows this guideline of putting it in quotation marks with no italics. Then the container is where you found it, and that would maybe be the journal you found it in. And then you put that in italics with a period, and then add any of this additional information to that until you have everything that you need. And then we'll go back to this document, and this will show all that information. This was the author. Let's split screen this here. This was the author. This is the title of the source right here, Old Roads, New Stories. Terrain.org is the title of the container. Nothing else was included here until the publication date, so that's written here, and then the location is right here. I know this is a lot of information. It's pretty overwhelming, but this really gives you a basic tutorial of what I'm looking for and what I'll be grading your work cited on, and you can refer to it as often as you want. And I do think this helps to break it down a little bit from everything that's available on the Purdue website. And definitely refer to that website when you have more complicated information than what I've shown you. That will appear on the Purdue website. So I've gone over all of that, and that's it. So good luck with that, and let me know if you have any questions. Post it on the board or email me, but I'm looking forward to having your perfectly cited documents and works cited page coming up for this next phase of the paper. Looking forward to it.